What is happening, guys? Cotty Plays here, bringing you another Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel video, and in today's video I'm going to be doing a deck profile for the two decks that I played primarily on my climb to Master 1 in this past season, so Season 18 of Master Duel. So before we get into the deck profile, I just want to say this is Dueling Book. Obviously it's not Master Duel. I'm using Dueling Book for two reasons. For those of you who have been around my channel for a while, you'll probably know them. The first one is that I like this format, the way you can construct your decks better on Dueling Book, visually speaking, and it allows me to talk about the decks in a more fluent manner. But also because running Master Duel on my laptop is very, not good, is the way to put it. I have to use an emulator on my laptop, and it basically looks like the phone version of Master Duel, so it's pretty janky to record on here. So, yeah, I just think it's better to show deck profiles like through Dueling Book. So I apologize if it's a little inconvenient for you, if you don't like this format as much or anything like that. But I promise you this is Master Duel format, and these were like decks I was playing on the ladder. So, yeah. But anyways, let's jump right on into the decks. Also, want to note really quickly, this is pre-ban list. So, obviously, there's a new ban list that just got released literally today at the time of recording this. I'm recording this on June 20th, and it got released on June 20th, like about 16 hours ago. The ban list got released, which would change this deck slightly. I'm playing 2 Solic in this list, so this will be dropping down to 1, and I'll be like replacing with something else for when that ban list goes into effect. But because this current version is still legal on Master Duel, like right now, I'm going to show the deck that I played to get Master 1, and then I'll show you what changes I would make going into next season. So I hope that's fair. So without further ado, let's jump right on in with the tier cards. I play 3 Rhino, 2 Sharon, 2 Havness, 2 Merly, 1 Planet, the best card in the deck, 2 Scream, 1 Heartbeat, 2 Solic, 1 Crime, 1 Foolish Goods. I consider this a tier card, definitely. So yeah, this is a pretty standard tier lineup, all things considered. Everyone's playing 3 Rhino now. Everyone's playing the 2 girls, obviously, because they're all limited to each. I'm only playing 2 Scream, and a lot of people are playing 2 or 3 of this. I personally like 2 because this card's not great going second, and you never want to see it in multiples. So instead, I decided to play the Heartbeat over the 3rd Scream, and I really, really like this addition. It allows you to recycle your Solic, recycle your Crime. It also allows you to out problematic back row that your opponent might have. There is a lot of Flunderies running around on the ladder currently. Luckily, that's going to be hit in the next ban list, even though it's not going to be that much of a hit. But luckily, we're not going to have to deal with it as much. There is a lot of Flu. There is a lot of Stun. There's a lot of Runic. There's a lot of just like random, like not fun decks to play against running around that have cards that, like Heartbeat, as a removal card, is really good at using, really good at getting rid of. So, love this card. This was great. I probably wouldn't play the deck in best of 1 format without it. The 2 Soliac, sadly, it's going down to 1. For consistency reasons, I'm sad. But, it is going down to 1 after this. But, while we can play 2, we're still going to, because this card is fantastic. There's a really nice replacement for this, though, that I'll get into in just a minute. But this card's fantastic. 1 Crime. This is almost mandatory currently because there's so much branded, there's so many Bestials, there's so much like removal, like just cards that straight up banish your cards, that having the ability to recycle your kit that gets banished by a Mirror Jade or by a Bestial or something is really, really useful. It's also insane to set up like a Rukalos, Crime, Solic inboard. You're probably not losing those games when you do that. Foolish Goods is a consistency card. It adds any tier from your deck to your hand by sending Solic. It adds any trap by sending Scream. It's really great. This card is fantastic. 1 Diviner. I decided to play Diviner over Snow or a Foolish Burial, which I probably should have added down here previously. But I decided to play Diviner over either one of these 2 options down here for a few reasons. The first one is Diviner not only acts as like a pseudo starter, like you can normal summon this card and like send one of your millers and play from there. It's really solid. I mean, a lot of times that'll work. But also, this is a fantastic mill. It allows you to, make Beatrice very easy. It allows you to make Baron. It allows you to, make a lot of different, like just a lot of really good plays. Summoning this back off of Elf, like I just said, allows you to go into Baron, allows you to go into Beatrice a lot more efficiently, but it also allows you to set up more millers or shufflers in your graveyard to extend further or to interrupt your opponents further. I liked this more than Snow because Herald not only acts as an extender, but it also acts as a starter. If you mill it, it's an extender. If you draw it, it's a starter. Where Snow is really only an extender if you mill it. That's not to say Snow is bad. If I could have Snow in the deck at 40 cards and not really have to change any of my other ratios, I would, because Snow is great. Same thing with Foolish Burial. If I could just play Foolish Burial and not have to cut anything else, cut any of my other ratios, I would play it. But unfortunately, I wanted to keep the deck at 40 cards because the deck does suffer from consistency issues, and I want to play a certain number of non-engine cards, like going second / non-engine cards, to be able to compete with the other stuff in the meta, that I just wasn't able to fit these 2 cards in there. But Diviner, I loved it. It was honestly fantastic for me the entire time, my entire climb, and I probably am not going to cut it going into the next season. Played double Kelbeck, 1 Yugioh, 1 Keldo, and 1 Medora. These cards are absolutely insane. They should all be at 1, or they should all be, honestly, they should probably not be in the game at all. They're really stupid, but I think at 1 they're probably fine, but this card should not be at 2. The fact that it's a hand trap is just absurd. Then I played a Bestial package. I played 1 Magna, 1 Druis, 1 Baldrake, and 1 Sorrow. This was honestly pretty underwhelming. The only 2 that were really good were Druis Worm and Magnemite. The Baldrake and Sorrow their effects literally never came up. Obviously, Sorrow's not going to come up in this version, unless you're going to chain block with it, which does kind of help sometimes. But Baldrake, I literally have never used this card's effect in this deck, and that's because I'm not playing enough Bestials to make it relevant on turn 0. So going forward, I might shift this around. I don't know, depending on how popular Tier is, and some other decks that get hit by these are going into next season. But overall, Magna and Druis were great. These 2 cards are pretty mid. They might be better being something else, but we'll see. Played 3 Maxi, it's the best card in the game. 3 Ash Blossom because it counters the best card in the game. It also is really good in the mirror match. It's good against Branded. It's solid against Runic. It's really good against Flu. It's pretty bad against Sprite, but you got to make some concessions. You make concessions with every card you pick, right? 3 Super Poly because it works beautifully in a deck like this. You can use your monsters and your opponent's monsters to go into stuff, or you can just use your opponent's monsters, so it's got a lot of versatility in this deck. It's one of the best board breakers in the game currently, since Garua's been added to the game. Being able to make Mud or Garua, it's pretty insane. This is honestly one of your only saving graces if you aren't able to resolve Max C against Sprite going second. If you're able to see a Super Poly, you have a chance, But if they stop your Max C and you don't have Super Poly, you're dead. If you just don't draw Max C and you have Super Poly, you have a chance. This card just gives you a chance against in a lot of games you probably shouldn't have a chance. So I really like it. I played 2 Talents and 2 Imperm. You could play 3 and 1 of either one of these you want. I decided to go 2 and 2 because Talents is obviously insane. This card is great going first or second. Honestly, I probably am going to play 3 of these next season, or after I make some more changes to this. I want to bump this up to 3, maybe at the cost of a Bestial, but I don't know. I really like 2 Imperm though. I love this because it's good at disrupting Tier, it's solid at disrupting Tier. It's okay against Sprite. It's really good. It's really solid against Branded. It's pretty good against Runic, but it's very, very, very good against Flunder. And Flu is everywhere in the ladder. It's absurd how many Flundereats decks that I ran into in the ladder. So overall, I like both these cards, but I kind of like to play 3 Talents. Maybe cut a Sorrow or cut a Baldrake for a 3rd Talents, and then we'll be good. But this is all stuff that I'll think about in the future. Again, want to just highlight: Snow is good, Foolish is good. If you want to play these cards, they're definitely worth it. Meta Noise is going to be the Soliac replacement. At least I think it's going to be. I think we're probably still going to need to play 3 traps post-ban list. I don't think playing 2 is going to be the move. I don't think 1 Soliac, 1 Crime is going to be enough. I think you'll want a 3rd trap in there. So I think playing a Meta Noise to replace that Soliac is going to do wonders. This card is very good. It's got a lot of applications. Overall, it's not as good as Soliac, but it's still a fantastic option, and it will win you a lot of games, I promise. Moving on into the extra deck, play the 6 fusions, so the 1 Kit, the 1 Rukalos, the 1 Kaleido Heart, the 1 Mud Dragon, 1 Garua, and 1 Dragon's Palia. Pretty standard, especially with Super Poly, you kind of got to play all these. For XYZ, I played 1 Baguska, 1 Redoer, 1 Beatrice. This card is insane. And 1 Zeus. You'll notice there's no Dweller here. Dweller's up here, and that's because I didn't play Dweller in the main extra deck. I was for a while, but I quickly realized that Tier is not like that anymore. Tier is nowhere near as popular as it previously was, and when you do play against Tier, you really don't want this card in. You don't really need this card going second. It doesn't really do too much for you against like the mirror going second. I guess it can come up sometimes, but you're probably going to be going for other stuff. And going first, your end board, you should not lose. Like if you're able to go Elf, Rukalos, Soliek, and Baron or something like that, or Beatrice, you should not be losing that game. Like, you don't need Dweller to win the mirror match. This card also got worse because Bystials just kind of beat it. They don't like beat it necessarily, but they just out it, so you don't have to deal with it like for like multiple turns in a row. So yeah, overall this card just seemed like kind of mid. And also in the mirror match, like everybody in the mirror match is on Super Poly. Like pretty much every tier deck is playing Super Poly. So going Rukalos plus Dweller is just a free Super Poly for them. So like overall, like I just didn't find this card to be that great. If we could side deck, if it was like best of 3 on ladder and we could side deck, I would probably side deck this card, but I don't think it's worth main decking right now. Beatrice, Freedoer, Baguska, and Zeus on the other hand, all these cards are insane. Baguska, you need it versus the anti-meta. Redoer, this is great because it's good against literally every deck. Beatrice, this card is just stupid. This card should not be legal, but the fact that it is, like, and we can make it, we should play it. And Zeus is just insane versus anything, pretty much. Then for not XYZs, for Links, we played Dark, Elf, Sprint, and Goddess. These are just the 4 necessities. You got to play all 4 of these, I think. Dark is great. It's really good in the mirror match. It's good at stealing Magnamuts. It's just a great card. Elf is broken. You can revive so much stuff in this deck. You can revive Herald, Merly. It's insane. Sprend, it's just literally a free fuse for yourself. Goddess, it helps you out. Avermax, pretty necessary. And then the flex spot is Baron. I decided to play Baron over the Dweller, over an Asa, over like other just Link/Exceed options you could play, and overall Baron was very, very good. I really like this card. Anyways, I'm not going to waste your guys' time too much. I'm going to go ahead and jump into the next one because I do want to show both decks that I played for this climb. The other one is a Sprite Runic variant. So before we get into this deck profile, you're probably wondering why am I not playing like Furhire Runic? And that's because I'm broke and I didn't have the crafting resources to craft 3 fossil digs. So that is sad, but I wanted to play it, but I just didn't want to spit. I just didn't want to like dismantle a bunch of stuff to like craft them. But I will play it in the future because I really like that deck. So, but I just decided to go back to like a more traditional like Runic Sprite. So yeah, let's get into it. I played a like pretty small Sprite package, all things considered. 2 blue, 2 jet, 1 red, 1 carrot, 2 starter, and 1 smashers. I didn't play double cross. Oh, that's not how. That's foolish double cross. Will this search it? Oh gosh, no it won't. I'm wasting time here. I didn't play double cross because this card does nothing for you going second, where smashers can somewhat help going second sometimes. And also your inboard going first is just way too good to actually need a card like this. Like if you go first and you don't get interrupted, you should win, like easily. But I decided to play the 2 jet as opposed to 3 pre-banless. Like I did not make any changes to this like after the banless dropped. Like I was already playing 2 because you don't really want to like see multiple like Sprite cards in your opening hand. You really just want to see like 1 blue, 1 jet, 1 starter. Like you want to see like of those 6 cards, you want to see 1 of them. You don't want to see multiple of them. And adding more jets, stuff like that, well, you can't add more blues, you can't add more starters. So adding more jets just doesn't really seem to like make the deck more consistent. At least I didn't feel like it did. The 1 red, 1 carrot, you really don't need more than this. Once you see these cards once, you don't want to see them again, you know. So you're good. Smashers is broken. This card's insane. Like it's great against tier. It's great against the mirror match. It beats Avermax, which is really nice. So then I played 4 normal summons. I played 1 Cap Shell and 3 Hyperia. Hyperia is obviously the main normal summon. You want to open this card pretty much every single game. And you want to like summon the Cap Shell off of Gigantic if you can to get 2 free draws. And then 2 free draws on your turn. If you do it right, you can also get 2 free draws on your opponent's turn, plus potentially 3 draws on both your turn and your opponent's turn with Fountain. So that's potentially like 5 draws on each your turn and your opponent's turn. That's just should not be legal. Like that's so broken. But honestly, there were times where I drew too many of these, to be honest. Like sometimes it feels like 3 is correct, so 2 Hyperia, 1 Cap Shell. But I thought it was worth it to make the concession of seeing like too many of these, because I'd rather see too many of these than not enough. Because like you really need these cards to like draw into your runics. So yeah, I honestly overall I really like the ratio, but there were times where I like screw this card. It's like literally stuck to my hand. When I would draw like 2 of them off like one runic fountain, I'd be like, what? Like, what? How does this happen? But anyways, that's enough rambling. For the runic cards, I played 2 fountain because it's at 2, 2 tip because it's at 2, 3 flashing fire because it's at 3, whatever. 2 freezing curses because it's at 2, 2 slumber because it's at 2, 2 destructions because it's at 2. Nice limits, Konami. I actually don't hate these limits. I think it does actually do a necessary job of like hitting this deck in the proper way, but it's just so weird. 2 dispelling, because we gotta fill in the runic names. 2 smithing storms and 2 golden droplet, which hurts my soul to play 2 of, but you kind of got to. You could technically drop this down to 1 and just play 16. But if you're going to do that, what you would be doing is you'd be adding another sprite card or another non-engine card. And while that does work, I really like 17 runic spells. It allows me to draw enough of my opening hand and to draw enough off my runic cards and off my Aperia, off my cap shell, to where like I always have runics accessible and in the loop to be able to play on my opponent's turn. Because once I see my sprite cards, I don't want to see them anymore. Once I see Hyperion and Capshell, I don't really want to see these cards anymore. Hyperion is the exception, because normal summoning it's not bad, like on turn 3 or whatever. But you really don't want to see multiple of these cards like past turn 1. So like I would rather just like bump my runic cards up and just have a more consistent engine overall. Then for non-engine, I played 3 Maxi, 2 Ash Blossom, and 3 Talons. The reason I decided to go like 2 Ash Blossom and 3 Talons in this version as opposed to like the 3 Ash, 2 Talons in the tier deck was because this deck, if you get hit by a hand trap, if you get hit by like a monster hand trap that's not Max C, like, and you open Talons, like you win the game. Like 99% of the time. Because this deck is like so good at playing into Max C, it's like ridiculous. Because all you gotta do is you just gotta go, runic spell, summon out your little Huggin, and then get your fountain to hand, and then have some other runics in your hand, and just like rip whatever you need to rip, be able to interact with their plays perfectly, that you're good to go. This card is also way better about breaking boards than Ash Blossom is, which I think is kind of a necessity in a deck like this. Since you don't have a lot of room for non-engine, because, I've been subscribing to the philosophy that you can't play more than 8 in Runic, like ever. I don't think you should ever go over 8 non-engine in this deck, because you just get too clunky doing that. I wanted to have some of the most impactful ones possible, and obviously Max C needs to be at 3. Like, this card is stupid. And then you could play 3 Ash, 2 Talents if you wanted, but overall, between going first and going second, I thought the 3-2 ratio in the favor of Talons was overall better, and I still believe that, and it's also to say, I want to play 3 in my tier deck. I was just saying that like a few minutes ago, so I want to play 3 of this in my tier deck, I just didn't have the room for it, but in this deck, you do, and it just kind of came at the cost of 1 Ash Blossom, I guess, but it was worth it. I hope that all makes sense. It's kind of hard to explain that because in some ways it doesn't make sense, but in other ways it does. It makes sense in my head because Max C doesn't hurt this deck that much. Max C also doesn't hurt tier that much, but yeah, I don't know. It doesn't really make too much sense, but it does kind of make sense. Anyways, moving on into the X deck. I played the triple Huggin, whatever you call it. Sometimes you use 2 of these on your first turn, so you definitely need the 3rd one. It just comes up way too frequently not to play 3. 1 Gary. I didn't play Munin because, well, I played this frickin' card. And also because Munin kind of sucks. Like, that card's kind of useless. 1 Jin. This card was really good. Oh, I didn't summon it that much, but it was really good when I did. Soul Sweeper. This card's really nice. Honestly, it's really clean. Get it? Sweeper. Clean. Kind of funny. I did not intend to do that. I'm really sorry I just did. 2 Gigantics. You definitely need 2. 1 Dark. It's not great in this deck, but when you can summon back someone's Elf or Jet, it's kind of nice. 1 IP, part of your inboard. 1 Sprint. Literally never summoned it after I cut the Nimble cards, which I'll talk about in just a second. 2 Elf. This card's kind of broken. Sometimes I want 3. 1 Unicorn. 1 Avermax. These cards are both broken, but I also kind of there was a lot of times where I wanted Goddess. This card's stupid good. And there were just sometimes where I just wanted it in the deck and I just didn't have it, which was kind of sad. But I decided to play frickin' Sprend. and I don't know why. Actually, I will tell you why. Because for a while, when I first started playing this deck, when I was starting to, run into situations where I was playing tier for 10 games in a row, I was like, okay, I need to switch some things up because I'm playing some of the same people multiple times. I'm running into a lot of this deck, and I just need a secondary deck to play. And I was like, I'm going to play Runic. Everyone hates playing against Runic, so I'm going to play it. And I wanted to do something creative because I didn't have the resources to make the Runic for hire. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to play Angler Runic. Sprite Angler Runic. Nimble Sprite Runic, yes. And I'm going to open, tip another Runic spell and Angler every single game and be the best player in the world. And not gonna lie, opening that feels amazing. But you know what also does not feel amazing? Opening multiple Anglers or drawing Angler off of your frickin' Runic Fountain. It's the worst experience in the world, and I do not think you should try it. It's actually not that bad. It was really interesting playing this package, honestly. But I didn't think it was necessary because this deck just craps out bodies. Sorry for that nice image. This deck just shits out bodies. You don't need to dump Angler off Sprint for a bunch more bodies. It's just not necessary in this deck because you have so many bodies that you just you have too many bodies to know what to do with in a deck like this. So this didn't feel necessary, and as a result of that, I probably should have cut Sprint, but I was lazy and didn't do it. But, now that I'm looking at it, I would either play a Munin, probably not though. I would or Goddess, probably, or Elf, as opposed to the other Sprint. But do what you will. It's pretty flexible. That last spot's kind of flexible. You can kind of do what you want with it. But anyways, that is going to do it for the 2 decks that I played to reach Master 1 this season on Season 18 of, Master Duel, ladder play, whatever you want to call it. Let me know in the comment section down below what decks you've been playing on the ladder and, what decks you think will be good going into the next season. So Season 19 with the new ban list, so on and so forth. Yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Peace.